This is a Flying Cow production.
Book 1, Water. Book 2, Earth. Book 3, Fire. Long ago, Nickelodeon introduced a series called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It combined great anime-style animation, strong storytelling, heart, and humor. It was great, and everyone that saw it loved it. Until one day, a terrible movie came out which everyone hated. But my co-host Loren Collins knows none of this because he's never seen the show. And that's why we are watching every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I believe this could be Loren's new favorite show. Or at least top 20. Well, hello, and welcome back to Comets and Cabbages here on the Flying Cow. This is, of course, the show where we talk all about Avatar: The Last Airbender. I, of course, am your host, Clay Johnson, the Flying Cow himself, and I think hook swords look stupid.
Well, my name's Amanda Van Heil, and I depend on Sokka's instincts.
And I'm Loren, and I am the leader of a ne'er-do-well group of young boys who commit crimes in the woods.
Okay. All right. Might want to check up on that. All right. But yes, we are here today, like I said, talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. We are currently in book 1. I believe this episode marks the end of the first half of book 1. I mean, obviously there are 20 episodes in book 1, but, some of them we did together because, they were two-parters and things like that. But this technically is the 10th episode of out of 20. So this is the end of the first half. And an interesting episode to kind of, mark the halfway point. But I want to say before we get into this, we are recording this episode just a day after the trailer. Yeah, I guess technically it's a teaser.
Yeah.
But the teaser for the new live action version on Netflix came out. So I figured we could just briefly talk about that, in our little intro. So did you guys all see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know Loren, you put kind of the poster for the fact that it was coming out yesterday, and then I put the trailer in the group. But I knew Amanda saw it because I saw her little Omashu. I will say, Amanda, when you put that, I was like, they show Omashu in that trailer? I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
Because I think I noticed it, but it just didn't really hit me as hard as you just saying it's there did. But I've seen some trailer breakdowns and things like that. And so I think there's some interesting stuff in there. I will say it definitely, this one is for book 1. They're the first series. I don't know how many seasons the Netflix version is supposed to get, but I think at least this first season is covering the majority, if not all, of book 1.
Based on the casting that I saw and the full cast of book 1, it looks like it goes all the way through.
Yeah. I will say though, it looks like they are at least going to be showing some characters that really don't make an impact until book 2, a little earlier than they did in the series. I will say though, Loren, with you only halfway through the animated version of book 1, what did you think of the trailer?
I was mainly just impressed by the look of it,
just the overall look.
Sure. Yeah, because it's translating again a fantasy world into live action. For example, like seeing Omashu depicted in
It looked so cool.
GI live, it looked really nice.
Yeah, and you can see that even like the delivery, like it
Exactly.
really
That's exactly
looks,
what I was looking for. It's like
it looked like a
that.
live action version of the animated, city.
Yeah,
it looks really true to life.
So I don't know how much they're going to streamline it. I just checked and saw there are apparently 8 episodes in the first season, which I guess are going to be.
Wow.
I mean, but they're
for some reason I was thinking 10, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So they're. I mean, we even mentioned in the last episode, probably the pirate story is not going to make the cut.
Probably the Jet, like we're talking here today, unless Jet comes
Jet's
back,
in it.
really important later.
I was about to say Jet probably
Jet is in it. No, I saw the cast list and Jet is in it.
All right. Well, they may just end up reworking some of these stories, I imagine, because if they're going to be hour-long episodes instead of half-hour, then like I don't anticipate them spending 1/8 of the season on Jet and his gang.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't even
surprised at the lack of Haru, just because he comes into play later. But
well, I mean, but not giving much away, Haru doesn't.
It's not
make a huge impact.
Just somebody has a really funny line about Haru later that I was looking for.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I will say, as a fan of the animated series, I like the character of Haru, and I wish that they would. But I mean, if you even look at the M Night, I mean, the M Night movie, for crying out loud, didn't even include Suki. I don't think. I don't remember her being in it anyway. But yeah, I mean, so
who's Suki?
Suki was the Kyoshi warrior.
Kyoshi warrior.
Okay.
Yeah. So, which I will say, Loren, you're apparently not the only person that has forgotten Suki, because there's a point in this episode where I'm like, have you guys forgotten Suki? But yeah, I mean, obviously they are going to have to streamline some things. I will say, I think they're probably going to compress some episodes like into each other.
Well, I'm certain they will. Yeah.
There will probably be, instead of the Avatar and Zuko storylines, there might be, some of those like lesser Zuko storylines might get replaced by, another Avatar storyline coming in that can maybe just Katara and Sokka deal with that while Aang's dealing with something else, things like that. And I imagine even some of the Zuko stuff will get compressed into, multiple or more, just one episode as opposed to the multiple.
But I'll be curious to see how this ends up working, because after all, we're taking a 20-episode season of a half-hour show, making it an 8-hour-long show. And
yeah, I mean, so technically it's still about 16 hours.
It's still 16 hours, but like
sorry, the 16,
equivalent of
because technically the last one was the equivalent of 10 hours. I mean, a little less because they were 20-minute episodes.
Yeah,
but the original was like 10 hours. And so now they've drawn that out to 8. So really, they're not going to have to lose too much.
But again, this is a there's the time to cover that, but unless like each episode ends up having
there are definitely some things that they don't need to bring in, so they could flesh out some of the things that are more important. As I said, it looks like they're going to be introducing certain characters earlier, which not sure how I feel about that, because I did not like the way that they did it in the M Night movie. Of course, I hated everything they did in the M Night movie. But we will just have to see.
Yes, surprise! The M Night movie is canon to this show. Yes.
No, it's not. No. I will say we will probably, when we get to the end of this, we will probably do something where we review the M Night movie. I haven't really decided. At one point, I was going to make it a Patreon exclusive, but we'll see. We might do it as like a live stream
commentary
or something.
Yes,
like
let's do a live commentary of The Last Airbender. I
don't know about a commentary, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
I mean,
but we'll do something with it.
Fun.
Yeah, and we might, drop our thoughts here and there on the live action, as it comes out. But I don't know how we'll handle that exactly.
I will continue to push you on I think we should do this as a not necessarily live streaming it, but we record it live as we watch
as a commentary. Oh.
As that way I will watch.
We're
in real time.
That's the only thing, is that I'm gonna want to actively talk over the thing if we're playing it, and I don't necessarily want that to be the only time that you see it, because you need to pay attention to it.
Yes, because I definitely need to have the pristine viewing experience of M. Night Shyamalan, The Last Airbender.
Hey, we had to watch it. You have to watch it.
I don't want to watch it twice.
If you want to do it as a commentary track, that might be how we have to do it. But we'll see. We'll see.
And like you said earlier, it doesn't surprise me that they're weaving in characters earlier. But when the show first got picked up, I'm going to assume they may not have had a guarantee of a second third season. This is what usually happens. Is you
I will say though, I really like the way that the animated version keeps certain characters in shadow and really don't even mention other characters until all of a sudden they are everything.
I have thought on one of those topics coming up in a couple episodes.
Yeah. But again, we'll talk more about that as things go on and as we get more news. But I think we can go ahead now and get into the episode proper. So we are today talking about the episode. It was the 10th episode. It is Jet. And this episode was directed by Dave Filoni, written by James Egan, and it originally premiered May 6th, 2005. And I will say, this episode, opens up with, an interesting opening, because usually like we see the group together or whatever, but this time we see Momo flying around, just getting food basically, and he gets caught in a trap. At which point, Aang and the gang find him and help him get out. And I will say, the moment Momo gets out, completely unfazed. It's like he was never in a trap.
He's like a cat.
Honestly, I think we've said that before, and there are some episodes coming up where I'm like, yes, Momo is a cat. Momo absolutely is a cat. But yes, you're right. This is another moment that kind of reinforces that we'll talk about, more as we go along. But completely unfazed. They decide, because there are these traps, they know that Fire Nation soldiers are around. Sokka suggests that maybe they don't want to take to the air in Appa because he's a little conspicuous. And I will say, my first thought to this was, okay, so you don't want to like fly high, because Sokka makes the point. He's like, he's a giant flying bison with an arrow on his head. To which Aang retorts, it's okay, he's just jealous. Basically, he makes the point that Sokka has arrow envy. He's jealous of the arrow. But
maybe Sokka needs to go get an arrow tattoo.
Yeah, well, but that would, then people would think that he's an airbender, a master airbender at that.
See, that'll be his disguise.
Yeah.
And then they all find out he can't airbend.
And then he's actually a water tribe member? What the hell are you doing, Sokka?
Exactly.
But no, so, like I said, he makes the point that they don't want to fly high with Appa, but I'm like, yeah, but Appa could just fly low to the ground and you guys could go faster, because they just decide to walk on foot. I
wasn't entirely clear why they couldn't just ride Appa.
I'm
like, when he's flying. I'm not sure why
he can walk.
I'm like, they could, because I'm pretty sure that Appa can walk faster than they can.
Yeah.
Even though he's behind them in this whole procession,
but
probably because
it's got to make him faster.
Yeah. But even then, like I said, just have him fly low to the ground. You're going faster and you're not getting tired. I don't see what the issue here is. But this does bring up,
just fly on cloudy days. Just fly right through the clouds. No one.
I was about to say, just fly up in the clouds. You're less easily seen. But yeah. But this does bring up the idea that apparently Sokka sees himself as the leader. At which point, Katara is like, if anybody is here is the leader. Aang's the leader, which honestly is kind of like the way I always thought. I was like, I don't really think they kind of take turns like making decisions. We've definitely seen Katara take the reins, and that's when things
maybe we should
things fly off the handle. But I feel like they've all kind of taken turns, making decisions.
They're a very egalitarian collective. Yeah,
right. But I do feel like if they had to just say who among them is the leader, simply by merit of being the Avatar, it would be Aang. But Sokka has a very good point. Aang, I don't think is a very good leader at this point. And honestly, he's got a point. He is 12. He is like the most immature of all of them. He spends all of their money. Sokka's making actually a very good point for why Aang shouldn't be the leader, but he's doing it in defense of him being the leader. And I'm just like, yeah, Sokka, you haven't always made the best decisions either.
He just has the survival skills that the others don't really have.
True. And I will say, it's at this point, because he's just like, I lead on instinct. And it's at this point, that they start, really, because Katara just starts really laying into Sokka with the whole, Sokka's instincts kind of. And I will say it's like half a funny gag. Of course, again, Aang's like, good one.
Hey, Sokka's instincts. Will you carry this for me?
Yeah. Again, it's kind of a funny little jab, a funny, playful jab to a friend. But it's also not like the funniest joke in the world.
I find it way funnier than I should. I don't know why I find it so funny, but I do. It's just, why don't we ask Sokka's instincts?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's a fun jab on your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they do, being low to the ground, they walk into a Fire Nation campground, which, yeah, you're more likely to run into those on the ground. But so they walk in, on this, and it looks like, they're about to get captured again, but they are saved by a group that we later find out are the Freedom Fighters. And for some reason, this guy is not included in that photo. I don't know. I will say I'm interested. Do you guys remember any of these characters' names besides the
yes,
obvious?
I remember all of them.
I remember.
Okay.
No, I remember two of them. The ones they made the joke about. Yeah.
Okay. So, Loren, go ahead and tell us as many of the names as you know.
Well, the big guy was Pipsqueak.
Yes.
The little guy with the hat was the Duke. That's
the Duke,
literally
which
it.
I love that is his name. His name is not Duke. His name is the Duke.
The Duke. Yeah.
Which honestly, I love characters who have names like that, where it's the something, and that's what you should always call them. The Duke.
The Duke.
You don't ever just call him Duke. You call him the Duke.
Yeah, just like there's in Alice in Wonderland, there's the Duchess.
Yeah.
That's who I played when I was in it.
Oh.
Do you remember any of the other ones, Loren?
I think I think the fellow on the he has the thing in his mouth. That's Jet on the left.
I
happily recognize it because of like the hook sword things he had, but he always had a straw in his mouth. So that's him.
Sure.
The other two I do not remember.
You don't. I mean, honestly, I understand why you don't know the guy who's sitting.
They might not.
They introduced him
once ever,
and that's it. But so Amanda, you know all the rest of these.
Yep.
Can you go ahead and tell us the others' names?
Sure. So the one that's sitting, that's Sneers, and nobody ever mentions him. He's in the
Yeah, in fact, I
comics.
don't think like just to kind of give it away, they do all come back except for Sneers. We
Yeah.
never see Sneers again.
Apparently he comes back in the comics, but that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't care.
And then the one with the stripes, her name is Smellerby.
And
And that's a long shot.
long shot. Yeah. So yeah, they all get names, even though some of them we get a little bit less of than others. I will say, I think Sneers, the only time that he's mentioned or really focused on it all is when his name is mentioned, and that's it.
And then everybody forgets he exists.
Yeah, exactly. And all the others at least get like another like action, like Jet, tells them some sort of like, you're going to do this and you're going to do this and something like that. But Sneers, it's just, hey, that's Sneers. He's not here. He's not here for long.
Was there ever an explanation for Smellerby, by the way?
Oh, the name? Not really.
Smellerby. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Because that feels like it's a portmanteau of like 3 different things, none of which are explained. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Or
no.
Like,
Well, I mean, all the other ones, like, obviously Pipsqueak is funny because he's funny. The biggest one.
And the
Duke
because
he has the helmet and, he's tiny. So it's funny to call him the Duke. Long shot, obviously, he's a good he's a good sniper as well.
Yeah.
But Smellerby
is smell. And so, like, I was just, I was wondering if maybe there was more to it that I wasn't picking up on.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't think Smellerby's name is ever examined or it's really never questioned.
Okay.
And so therefore it's never answered.
Slightly in like a later episode, but it's just barely touched on.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Slightly, but that's in reveal of something else, which you kind of mentioned, but I'm not gonna point out yet because it comes out later. But yeah, so we are introduced to this group of, like I said, they call themselves freedom fighters. They are, basically defending the local Earth Kingdom population against the Fire Nation is the way that they see themselves.
This group of lost boys or merry men.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking too. It's like they're like the lost boys. Okay.
Yeah. They're kind of like they're kind of a mashup between Robin Hood's Merry Men and the Lost Boys because they're children, but they're also like thieves.
Yes.
In that Robin Hood sense.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely see themselves as more like Robin Hood and the Merry Men, but we find out later there's a bit more darkness there. I mean, I will say pretty much from the jump, both Aang and Katara are on board with Jet. I think Aang just really thinks that Jet is cool, and Katara, it's pretty obvious pretty quick that
she thinks he's cool, all right.
Yeah, Jet or Katara likes Jet. I will say though, I don't know how much that feeling is reciprocated. I think that Jet more uses the way that he can tell Katara feels about him to kind of keep Katara on side, but I don't know how much reciprocation there is.
Jet knows how to use charm very well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely he does. But the one person who kind of is always, kind of let's kind of feel this out, getting kind of an oogie feeling from start is Sokka. Sokka does not really trust Jet. In fact, he's pretty much ready to leave the moment that they meet Jet. But the other two are like, no, let's hang out with Jet. Let's go to his secret hideout. Let's, swing in trees like Tarzan, all of the stuff. They are fully on board for.
Sokka's a cute boy. Don't ruin this for me.
Yeah. I will say what I think is interesting in this is we've kind of already set up the fact that, however deeply you want to say it is, Aang obviously has some form of crush on Katara. But it is obvious that Katara likes Jet Yet this seems to not bother Aang at all. Like I said, the person who's threatened here is Sokka, but it has nothing to do with, the way Katara feels about Jet.
Let's hope.
It's just, let's hope. It's more that they both see Jet as, because Sokka from the beginning is like, I'm the leader, I got good instincts, all this kind of stuff. And they're like, no, you suck, but Jet's awesome. So, that's kind of where the jealousy of Sokka comes in. But I find it odd that Aang doesn't get bumped by this at all. Do you guys have any thoughts about
I figure
that?
he's either just oblivious to it, or he's just like, he's not interested in Katara.
Yeah, I mean, you think, though, if that were the case, that it would more be like, I'm going to save Katara from this boy that she likes but isn't into her at all.
I think he's so distracted by the swinging through the trees that
this
is fun.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it. Loren, did you want to say something there?
Basically, just like I can't immediately recall us seeing Aang as jealous to date. He likes Katara, but he's not. That's not how he's going to react to her liking.
Well, I think, though, we saw a little bit of that in the Kyoshi Warriors thing, because his whole reason for doing everything that he does is to try to get her attention. I mean, it's not straight up jealousy, but it is like a desire for her attention, approval, So I feel like, if he were noticing that, he would be jealous because her attentions are elsewhere. But I think you're right, Amanda. I think it really is that she's just not, he's just not clocking what's going on here. But yeah, Jet is very charismatic, very smooth. And I don't know about you guys, but we've been asking a question for a couple of episodes, and I think we finally have our answer. We've been wondering, who's the third Jonas brother? What is his name? Where is he? I think we finally found him. It's Jet Jonas. We have located the third Jonas brother.
I was wondering,
this is why we haven't heard from him in a while. He has been swinging around in trees.
He's busy being a freedom fighter, fighting the Fire Nation.
Defending the Earth Kingdom, fighting the Fire Nation. He's got a really dark, twisted backstory. He's just real brooding and, very boy bandish. Yeah, I think, I mean, we've either found the third Jonas brother or the unbeknownst fourth Jonas brother.
Yeah, I prefer fourth Jonas brother. Yes, there are the three who were in the TV show and the one who didn't want to join the show, like that one member of the
of the Beatles. The
Osbournes. There was one.
Okay.
Do you recall that there was one member of the Osbourne family who didn't want to be part of the TV show The Osbournes, so they just cut out of everything.
Jeez,
so there's one member of the Jonas Brothers. Three of them are like internationally famous musicians, and then there's the fourth guy who like lives in the woods.
Yeah, the fourth Jonas, Jet Jonas.
Jet Jonas.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so like I said, Jet, watching this like the first few times, I didn't really notice how manipulative Jet is, but rewatching it for this, I was like, oh wow, Jet is really like, he's quick to pick up on, okay, I got Katara and Aang on side. Sokka, though, doesn't really believe. Let me see if I can kind of soften Sokka up. Let me see if I can get him on side. You really kind of start to see the wheels turning when you rewatch this episode, knowing the way that it plays out. I will say, did you guys see that?
Yeah, the more I watch it, the more I'm like, ooh. I've known plenty of people in the theater who are like Jet.
Sure. I mean, Loren, this would have been like, I don't know how many times you watched this episode for prep, but yeah. So
I take that back. I watched it once, and then before we recorded, since I watched the episode like 2 weeks ago and remembered almost none of it, I had to go back and just like remember how did it end, because I had no recollection of how the episode ended. So I have watched it like 1.15 times.
So did you catch the manipulation he was laying down, or were you just kind of like I was the first couple times I watched it, just kind of like going along with the episode and just like, oh, this Jet guy's interesting?
Well, I mean, he has the whole weird thing where he assaults the old man, accusing him of being a spy fairly early. So, I mean, from there on,
from there on, you saw it. Okay.
I figured he was sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're right. You know, like I said, he's trying to get Sokka on side, but you know, very early on, Sokka catches on because, you know, Sokka does a really cool thing with a tree, and his blade, you know, can feel the vibrations of somebody coming, and they're like, you know, okay, be ready. And then Sokka immediately sees that it's an old guy. I mean, yeah, he's an old guy from the Fire Nation, but he's still an old man. But Jet, you know, we learn pretty quickly that Jet does not distinguish from soldier, civilian. He sees Fire Nation, he sees red.
Yeah,
literally. But, you know, he basically is a bigot against anyone Fire Nation. Does not matter, you know, how, you know, innocent. He doesn't see any Fire Nation person as innocent. He thinks that they all have, they're all guilty by association, basically. And so he does. Brother. I'm sorry?
Toon killed his brother.
Yeah. I mean, you know, in this case, you know, they killed his family, you know, his whole family. So, yeah, I mean, but yeah, the correlation, you know, it
they were Toons. So, yeah.
I mean, you know, in this, they're all Toons, though. So, but yeah. So, but yeah, you know, they assault the old guy, but, you know, Sokka is basically like, hey, he's harmless, leave him alone. But
Sokka's trying to voice a reason. Jet's trying to steer into his obsession, you know, almost conspiracy theory mindset of like this old man is actually a secret spy. And then Jet goes, when we get back to the encampment, straight up lies about the whole
thing. Because you know, Sokka tries because Sokka tries to let the others know what happened, and Jet's just like, you didn't tell them he was Fire Nation, and they're just like, oh, well, that changes everything. And I'm like, guys, that shouldn't automatically change everything. You should hear more of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does tell Katara and Aang that you know, they found a dagger on the guy that he was sent there, which I will say Jet has a very high opinion of the way the Fire Nation views him, because at no point do we ever see any wanted posters for Jet or anybody besides Jet talking about how dangerous he is to the Fire Nation. We never hear that from any Fire Nation people. That's all Jet's own, you know, what's the word? Propaganda. That's Jet's own propaganda that he believes himself, basically.
By the way, it suddenly occurs to me as we were talking about that. When Jet's back in the camp talking to Katara and Aang and pulls out the knife, I took that to mean like that had never been the old man's knife, that he had just like planted it on him and claimed it had been.
Well, we see Smellerby use the knife later.
Well, I mean later, but that just they already have the knife. So yeah,
right. But I'm thinking that it was somebody else's knife that they just know that the others haven't seen yet.
That's what I thought. Yeah. But as we were sitting here, it suddenly made me wonder. It's like, okay, did the old man just like have a knife on him for protection? And you know, Jet then assumed that was like actually an offensive knife as opposed to a defensive knife.
No, I think they planted it among his stuff. Because, you know, Sokka even says, I never saw a knife, because they do. Yes, he does see them take the old man stuff away from him. Yes. And he's like, I didn't see a knife.
Okay, good. Because like I said, that was my interpretation when I watched the episode. And that scene did give me a big shift on Jet, where, as you know, at least when he's assaulting the old man, I can chalk it up to he's obsessive and can't see, you know, the forest for the trees type of thing. Right. He's just blinded by his own ignorance and bigotry. But no, when he plants a knife on the guy and claims that he's a spy, no, he's just a liar and a con artist at that point.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much. But yeah, I will say though, before we get this kind of pseudo confrontation, we get this scene where you know, when Sokka first gets back, he goes to see Katara and Aang, and Katara's like, is Jet here? I want to see him. I made him a hat. And this hat, number one, I look at this hat and I was like, okay, this does not look like a hat that Jet would wear. But I also want to point this out because you can see in the background the look on Aang's face. And this makes me think one of two things. Either this is Aang finally realizing, oh no, Jet's a threat, or, I wanted that hat. Which honestly brings up the next picture because later on we see Aang wears the hat.
It looks okay.
Because honestly, it looks more like a hat Aang would wear than a hat that Jet would wear.
Yeah. It has almost kind of an old Jughead feel to it.
Yeah, it looks like it does not look like a hat that, I mean, Jet, I don't think would wear a hat because, you know, it would
maintain that hair.
Exactly. It would mess with the natural bedhead that he's got going on.
And how's he supposed to shake his hair productively at the girls?
Slow motion where it just waves, yes.
But yeah, I thought it was funny that not only that Katara made Jet a hat, but then Aang ends up wearing it.
Yeah, I think Aang was oblivious, was like, I want a hat.
Yeah, it's like,
a cool hat.
I wanted that hat. I saw you making that hat and I thought it was for me. But yeah, so, you know, like I said, obviously at this point, Jet kind of realizes that, he's not going to get, Sokka on his side. I did make a note because, you know, we've kind of mentioned that, you know, Aang doesn't get jealous. Aang really is kind of like takes a back seat in this episode. He's really kind of just a side character in this episode. This really more is an episode about Sokka and, you know, obviously Jet. But I find that interesting that, you know, the lead of the series in this episode is kind of very much in the background of this episode. But you know, like I said, at this point, you know, Jet's kind of given up on Sokka trying to be on their side, which is good because Sokka overhears the whole plan, basically, that they had planned to flood the valley and basically kill the entire village, which is a village of it's an Earth Nation village, but it's also, you know, Fire Nation people and soldiers live there. But Jet, you know, and even, you know, some of his freedom fighters point out, but civilians live there, and Jet's just like, yeah, that's the cost of war kind of thing. And I'm just like, there aren't that many soldiers there. You're actually killing more civilians than soldiers. It's kind of messed up. But again, half of them are Fire Nation.
All the people in this world are part of one of these four nations, right?
Yes. But you know, as we've mentioned, the Fire Nation basically has colonies within, especially the Earth Kingdom.
I understand that. That wasn't my question. So and this may have been said explicitly. So Jet and his crew are Earth Nation, right?
Yes, I believe so.
They're destroying like their own people's city that's occupied by Fire Nation.
Yes.
Okay. So they're basically just like Earth Nation ISIS. Just
yeah. Basically, I mean, but you know, obviously, you know, Jet believes and is able to convince his followers that, you know, just ridding the valley of the Fire Nation is what's the most important.
Yes.
You know, that casualties are acceptable.
Oh yeah.
You know, even civilian Earth Kingdom casualties are acceptable.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he believes the town's being occupied, and they're just gonna like wipe it all clean, even if like 3/4 of the casualties are his own people.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, though, Sokka overhears this and does not agree. So he basically confronts Jet, which honestly, I was just like, Sokka, at this point, you need to run away and go tell people who can help. But no, he confronts and gets caught. And, it looks like they're going to take him prisoner, but Sokka is able to outsmart, the freedom fighters that have him and get them caught in traps. And he then disappears for a while because you think that he's going to go warn Katara and Aang, but instead Katara and Aang discover Jet's treachery for themselves because basically Jet uses them, because they're both waterbenders, to fill up the reservoir so that they think that it's just, to kind of, help out with something else, but what they don't know is that he wants the reservoir full so that it will actually flood the town. They eventually discover it, and he once again thinks that he is going to be able to talk his way out of it, but when Katara discovers what Jet has done, Katara is not happy. And she attacks him. And I will say that, showed a little gif of the initial attack, but Katara just goes crazy on him and just starts, pelting him with water blasts, and eventually freezes him to a tree, thinking that they have isolated Jet and she's hurt and feeling all of these other, anger, hurt, sadness, all of these emotions, but they think that they've stopped Jet. But little do they know that Jet is a whistling master and basically just whistles the signal for them to destroy the reservoir. And, they see the town destroyed and they think all is lost. But little do they know that Sokka, when he disappeared, actually went down to the town to let them know that this was happening. And the little old man that he saved actually vouched for him, and they listen, and the town is saved. Now, it means that they'll have to relocate and rebuild with Fire Nation soldiers in tow, which is awkward. But, at least the people are safe. And, they turn their back on Jet. Basically, you're a traitor, you're, all of these things that you're calling us. But I wrote down, they just leave him frozen to the tree. They don't turn him in or anything. They just leave him there. And I'm just oh yeah, he will. He'll melt and he'll escape. But I'm like, wouldn't it have been better for them to turn him over to the authorities? Yeah, it would have been for turning him over to the Fire Nation, which is a little messed up. But at the same time, this guy's dangerous.
He's a literal murderer.
Yeah. At least an attempted murderer.
Yeah.
We don't know how many people he's killed before this.
I wouldn't put it past him that it's possible that he has already done things like this before. But so far as we know, we can't convict him of anything because we haven't actually seen.
Well, we could convict him of conspiracy to commit
conspiracy. Absolutely, yes.
Also,
true. We couldn't convict him of murder, but we could
attempted mass murder. Also, still a crime. So
true.
And be perfectly fair, if it was just one actual murder versus an attempted mass murder, it's that, I'm not sure where the moral equivalency, one of those may still be worse than the other.
I'm just saying we can't legally call him a murderer.
Okay, so but you're saying he should be turned. They should turn him over to the Fire Nation authorities for him to be executed.
I would say the authorities, and unfortunately, they're the ones that are the closest.
Yeah.
They could take him in tow and turn him into Earth Kingdom authorities, but they might have a harder time. But I'm just saying that the worst thing they could do is just leave him free, because that's what they've done. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about the way that this is resolved?
I mean, since we don't know for sure he hasn't killed anybody, it's probably best not to turn him over to the Fire Nation.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think it's fine to just like let him roam around free? Because I mean, like Loren said, he did attempt to wipe out an entire town.
That is true.
I mean, I think that he
like there needs to be a nice happy medium between execution and freedom.
Right. Like I said, I think the idea of turning him into the Fire Nation is a little messed up.
Yeah.
But I also think that just letting him wander free is messed up.
Is there like an Earth Kingdom nation he can be turned into?
Yeah, I mean, it would take them a little longer, but I think that would probably be the best case scenario. But they don't attempt any of that. They just kind of leave him there.
I mean, they're a group of 3 kids. I don't think they see themselves as like law enforcement, where they need to like do a citizen's arrest and like turn him in, like not only turn him in, like hold on to him until someone shows up, but actually transport him, like, and find like a somewhere where they can like lock him up. Also, then
which is why my first thought was to turn him into the local authorities. Unfortunately, the local authorities are Fire Nation.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Also, if they go anywhere, what are they going to say? Like we saw him do this thing. Can you hang around and be witnesses? Actually, no, we can't. We have a place we really need to be. So we got to go. Right.
Delay them another 6 months while Jet awaits trial.
We'll come back at some point. But in the meantime, trust us. He's a bad guy. Just lock him up until we can come back.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, apparently there were no good solutions here. But, I mean,
unless
to not even try.
Unless they kill Jet. Unless they just...
No, I think I mean they left him at least somewhat detained. Maybe they think that some authorities will come find him.
Yeah.
That's not what happens, I can tell you. But you know. But yeah, I will say one last note that I haven't mentioned, and I kind of mentioned it in my opening. You know, Jet has these hook swords, which I'm assuming are some real life weapon.
Let's turn to Amanda for that answer.
I was about to say, Amanda, is this like
I think
a real
supposed
like
to be
martial
like,
arts
I have to look
weapon?
at Jet's weapon, but I think they're supposed to be size.
Well, because when I look at it, I'm just like, those look like really dumb weapons. Why would you have swords that have hooks at the end?
Oh, okay. I'm looking at them now.
What's the whole purpose of a sword? But I will say, in that last fight, with where Katara and Aang fight Jet, he uses them very well, and they actually look more badass than I would think hook swords. Like, they look cooler than I think is justifying them being.
Okay,
but he apparently has like little daggers at the bottoms of them.
This is a thing.
Yeah. They apparently have like little daggers in the handles that he uses to like stab things with.
Yes. The hook sword, twin hooks, is a Chinese weapon traditionally associated with modern styles of Chinese martial arts and wushu weapons routines.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I first see them, they look like really dumb, but he uses them very effectively.
The picture on Wikipedia also has them with the handle, which I guess did his have those like...
Yeah, his had like a handle that had like spikes on.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. Okay, now I want to learn how to fight with these, because these are really cool.
It honestly reminds me of like a Klingon Batleth, like the
yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I double checked. It is a Batleth. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a Batleth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do you guys have any other notes about this episode before we move forward?
Don't think so.
No.
But other than, I'm sure that's the last we will see of Jet and his merry boys.
Yeah. I will say, we actually, as the reservoir breaks, we get to see like the water rushing into the town. And did anybody else notice one of the first thing that gets knocked into is a cabbage stall?
No, I missed
Yeah,
that.
I was like I saw it get knocked over, and I was like, was our merchant there? I half expected like just a random
My cabbages! My cabbages! My cabbages!
to break in like as it gets knocked over, because yeah, it's just like they make a point of like showing this like street and this random cabbage stall.
Yeah. I will say I wasn't entirely clear on why Sokka took the strategy of only trying to save the people in the town, and then the authorities there didn't do anything. So like, yeah, everyone's saved, everything they own is destroyed, and they're like, even the place they live can't be re-inhabited.
Yeah, they don't try to stop Jet
No.
and the freedom fighters. They just kind of.
So it allows for the climax, and
I mean, it does make me think that okay, then maybe they're on the look for them. So maybe they just assume that they'll find Jet before the freedom fighters break him free. But yeah,
no, it's not just that. It's just like I feel like the folks in the town are going to be conflicted about just how helpful Sokka was. That like, yeah, they're alive. Why did he like come to them like half an hour earlier, and they might have been able to like stop it?
Well, he got to them as soon as he knew it was a danger.
Yeah.
Because remember, he got captured, and when he broke free, he went to them.
Yes.
Not to anybody else.
You assume I remember more than I do. So yes.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so let us go ahead then and let us go into our segments. And we are going to start with our My Cabbages Award.
My cabbages!
Which is, of course, our favorite or most interesting scene in the episode. Amanda, I am going to start with you. What was your My Cabbages scene for this episode?
It's really silly, but just why don't you ask Sokka's instincts?
You know who could help carry that? Sokka's instincts.
I think it's just the way she said it every single time was the exact same, and it was just so silly.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's a nice, fun, playful moment that I do.
It's just silly. I don't know why I love it as much as I do.
Yeah. All right, Loren.
I guess, as best I can remember, just Sokka being the voice of reason and coming to the defense of this old Fire Nation guy. It's a nicer side of Sokka, you know, putting him in conflict with, you know, someone else, and vouching for someone who under other circumstances is his enemy, but you know, doing the right thing.
Well, and it's nice to see, because we have often seen Sokka take a very similar stance to Jet. You know, Fire Nation bad, Nation bad. So it's nice to see Sokka having some nuance to that, you know, when he's compared to a character that doesn't.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. I actually am picking the whole sequence from the fight with Jet, Katara, and Aang to when they think they have failed. Like, it's done really dramatic. Like, in like the idea of them failing in this town being washed away, and you know, all of this stuff, like the way that it's done is like really dramatic. And then Sokka just walks in and he's like, nope, everybody's good. We're fine. But also that fight was actually, like I said, you know, the way that Jet uses those swords, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, no, I guess those are cool swords. They looked like dumb weapons before, but now they look really cool the way he's using them. But yeah, I enjoy all of that. All right, well then let us go ahead and get now into our Mako Award. This, of course, is the award that we give to our favorite or most interesting character for the episode. So, Loren, I'm going to let you start us off for this one. Who gets your Mako Award?
You know, formally, I suppose Jet's the only person here with any like real, as far as I'm concerned, real personality or interest. So it's probably going to be Jet. But it's the options here are so limited. I figure at least one of y'all is probably going to say Jet. So I'm just going to throw, for absolutely no reason, a little love towards Sneers. And just say,
the character who literally, when they introduce him, is like eating.
Yeah.
And that's the only character moment he gets.
I mean, what I've learned from you already is he does not show up again, so why not? I'll give him his one little shining moment of glory here, and recognize Sneers for his one and only appearance.
Yeah. All right, Amanda.
I mean, I could go with Jet, but I also really like Pipsqueak and the Duke.
All right.
I appreciate Pipsqueak's humor and laughing along with Aang, and then the Duke is just a kind soul, despite being with Jet.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, we see that, they go along with Jet and they defend Jet, but we also see that they've, they're in a kind of vulnerable place. He's manipulated them too. They trust him. They have, he's the one that helped them when they, had lost their home.
They lost their families young. So
exactly.
It's not like they really had that much of a role model.
Right. It's like asking them to believe that their father figure is, capable of being murderous. And that's a difficult ask.
And they just want a family and to belong. So,
right.
Can't really fault them for that.
Right. But I mean, we do see some of them question, that initially. So I think that they're, decent kids. They're just, in a difficult situation. But I'm actually, Loren, you just assumed somebody was going to pick Jet. I'm not. I'm picking Sokka, actually. For I think the second episode in a row, I'm picking Sokka. Sokka, I really liked his kind of, I mean, it's his episode, really. The only other person you could argue the episode belongs to would be Jet. But really it's kind of about Sokka, kind of, showing that he actually does have some decent leadership skills. He actually does have some good instincts, as much as they kind of mess with him for it, as it goes on. He actually is the only one that sees Jet for what he is. And he's actually got some pretty strong moments. So yeah, I'm giving my award there to Sokka.
Yeah, I'm not heartbroken by Jet not winning here. He's a bad person. He does not deserve award.
I think that he's an interesting character. Yeah. I think he's actually more interesting when you see how manipulative he actually is.
Oh, yeah.
Because when he's just the I'm the brooding leader and I'm cool, it's just like, well, okay, you're just the standard brooding leader. But when you see how cold and manipulative he actually is, he's actually even more interesting.
I do look forward to seeing him return and seeing what the dynamic is with our main cast when he encounters them.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, then it is time to rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 5. 5, of course, being the worst. It is the show at full power. 1 being the worst. It could deal the show a fatal blow. So Amanda, we will go ahead and let you start us off. What do you give this episode?
This one introduces some memorable characters, so I'll give it a 4.
All right. Loren?
I mean, it was interesting. At least when I was watching it, it didn't stick in my memory. But by and large, when I did revisit a couple moments, I did recall what happened. I'll give it a 3.5. So it was entertaining enough, but not great.
All right. I'm gonna go with Amanda. I'm also gonna give this a 4. Like I said, I'm actually really enjoying rewatching these shows for this pod, because I've rewatched the show a bunch of times. But mostly when I do, I'm binging it, which I think is really the only way I've ever watched this show. I've really only ever watched like one episode right after another. So when I watch them kind of one at a time, or at the very least, watching them kind of pausing in between taking notes, I have a lot more time to think about them and notice things and really kind of dig into, bits. And so I think this is really the first time that I've seen how manipulative Jet is in this episode, and kind of, how dark he actually is. And, so for that reason, yeah, I find this episode more interesting than I ever have before. So yeah, I'm giving it a 4. All right. Well, then I will say it is time to ask the question, which we keep forgetting to ask, but it is one of the most important questions because it's kind of, the whole point of the show. And that is this. Loren, is this your new favorite show?
Well, no. It is.
So where are we on the scale now?
On the scale of my favorite show, I mean, I'm enjoying it well enough to watch it. I'll be perfectly honest, though. Well, I'm increasingly engaged, and I'm interested in what's coming, particularly after one of the episodes that's upcoming that I've watched, but we'll cover later.
Right.
That's been engaging. If I wasn't doing a podcast for this, it's on the level of interest where it's like, I kind of want to finish this one day, but maybe not now. Sure. I might get around to it at some point. In the meantime, I'm going to watch something I want to watch more. So yeah, it's pleasant enough to watch it, but
progress.
Progress. Yeah. But yeah, we've got a ways to go before this is my favorite.
Sure. All right. Well, then I want to go ahead and let everyone know where they can contact us. Of course, you can contact me at The Flying Cow on Twitter and Instagram. Email at theflyingcow@gmail.com. You make sure to check out all of our other shows. We recently dropped an episode of Discussions for this month. Make sure to check that out. We will also be dropping into the YouTube feed an episode of Loren and I's podcast, which we actually all recorded last year, but they're dropping, here as if they're fresh. An episode of Around the World, our podcast all about Ernest and the Ernest films this month, because actually tomorrow, as of recording this, tomorrow is the 30th anniversary of Ernest Rides Again. Oh. So the 12th is the 30th anniversary. So that one's going to be dropping in relation to when this one drops. I think it will have dropped earlier this week. So make sure to check that out, and everything else that we have over on patreon.com/theflyingcow, where you can check out these episodes a week early, or get us in podcast form for only $1, that part. So make sure to check that out. Loren, Amanda, what you guys got going on?
Not an awful lot, but I'll go ahead and say this as an exclusive for our podcast listeners, because I'm not supposed to say this, but screw it. The Atlanta Bar Association periodically does an all-lawyer musical show. And
I used to work the box office for their shows.
Yes. Oh, you did?
When they were at the 14th Street Playhouse, I would work
exactly, which we can't use anymore because it
no longer exists.
It no longer exists. So I've been part of the effort to locate a new venue for it. And so this past week, we finally got confirmation for that venue for next November. So whenever you hear this episode, remember, next November 8th, a year from now, for a courthouse line Bard show, 13. So yeah.
All right, Amanda.
You can find me on the Zelda Universe TV YouTube channel, where I talk about Zelda every week. I am now officially the YouTube director at Zelda Universe. So
nice.
Yeah, now it's all me. I'm just kidding. It's just
so if I hate something, I should blame you.
You blame me. If you don't like something on the YouTube channel, you blame me. And then I just find the person that made it and go, "You're terrible." And then I go,
So-
keep it up. Yeah, exactly. You can also find me on Twitch at Panda Princessa, and then on Twitter at Amanda Van Heil.
All right. Well, again, want to thank everyone for listening or watching. We will be back next time to review the episode The Great Divide. But until that time, moo.
Moo.